Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Benedict. I'm a member of the PhDOOC Association, and today I'm delighted to be talking to Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Benny. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. And so we decided to invite Nick because he invented a very useful tool for PhDs to network. And so before we dive into this tool, I would like to ask you, Nick, if you could please tell us a bit about yourself and your career track so far.
Yeah, sure. So I maybe I can start at the end and I can work back to the beginning. But last year I started my first job in industry. So for the past year, I've been working for a company in Paris called DNA Script, which is a very cool, exciting, fast-growing kind of startup in the biotech sector. Before that, I had done a 4-year postdoc at the Institut Curie in Paris, where I was focusing exclusively on a bioinformatic project. And before that, I had done a PhD in developmental biology. So this was kind of half bioinformatics and half lab work. And my kind of career before that was a little bit more fundamental research. So I did a master's in evolutionary biology. So I've kind of taken a slightly loopy route through various different fields of fundamental research into bioinformatics, and now I work as a kind of bioinformatician in this biotech company.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. So you created Researchingio when you were a postdoc, and so I'm curious to hear why you created it, how it works, and what benefits it has for PhDs who are willing to transition outside of academia.
So I started thinking about the idea as I was finishing my PhD. And I guess it's a situation that a lot of people would be familiar with, that you're kind of finishing one project and you're starting to think about what's coming next. So I was very aware of the fact that there are basically there's a big bottleneck in your research career when you go from PhD to postdoc. There are obviously more people who do PhDs than there are postdocs available. And then there's another bottleneck down the line in the academic career, going from postdoc to PI. So I was quite aware from relatively early in my career that progressing in the kind of traditional academic career was quite hard, and that most people who pursue PhDs and postdocs actually end up in different industries. So after my PhD, I started to get a little bit interested in this sort of idea, and I started thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I could kind of somehow reach out to people who had been in a similar position to me and try to gain some understanding of how they actually transitioned outside of academia. So if I could connect with someone who had done a PhD in the same subject as me and maybe had learned some of the same fundamental skills that I had from my PhD, that would be someone that would be very useful for me to contact if they'd gone on to pursue a career in, I don't know, law or working in biotech or something like that. So that was the kind of the idea I had. And then in my postdoc, I finally kind of found myself in a position where I could start working on this properly. And I developed this idea a little bit further. And the result was Researchingio. And the kind of, the fundamental premise of the site is to connect people who are currently working in academia, so PhDs and postdocs primarily, with people who have left academic research to work in non-academic careers. So it's the site is kind of functions almost like a kind of fancy searchable database where you can search for people in by city or by the skill that a particular skill that they might have, or a particular discipline that they might have done a PhD in, for example. And then you can connect to people who are kind of share a similar background to you, but have just advanced their career in a different direction. So the idea is that then you have this kind of highly bespoke networking between people who share kind of common ground to begin with. And again, the idea is to try and help people who are doing PhDs and postdocs visualize the sorts of careers they can have outside of academia, and also then to connect with people who have made that jump and to kind of ask them questions like, how did you prepare for your move out of academia, or do you have any advice for interview techniques and stuff like that? in a very like fluffy way. That's the basic outline of what Researchingio is all about.
No, it's a great platform and it's very easy to use. You can create your account pretty easily. You just have to indicate your skills and you can link your LinkedIn profile, for example. So being able to connect with all those people is actually very easy. And I was wondering, actually, is it mostly for people in STEM or do people in humanities also use this platform?
It's actually just intended to generically for people who work in academia, but because I come from a STEM background and a lot of my contacts are in STEM, it's just the way that the network has grown has become predominantly kind of bio focused, I would say. Yeah. But if there are people out there who aren't in STEM, but there are plenty of mentors who come from different backgrounds, and it's something that we're very interested in kind of building up.
Yeah, that's nice. And also all the people you have currently come from all around the world, so you can end up connecting with people in very different countries.
Yeah, that was something that I kind of felt was something that's kind of missing in the traditional approach that a lot of universities and research institutes take to career advice, is that it tends to be something that's only accessible to people that go to that university. And that then just kind of limits you very, very much in terms of the scope of what you can actually deliver. So the nice thing about something like Researching is because it is global, it's completely international. It means that you could be doing a PhD in London, and you could have you could be connecting with mentors, people who have left academia in San Francisco or New York or whatever. And that, I think, just basically expands your horizons, and it basically makes it more likely that you'll actually be able to connect with people who have highly relevant career advice for you, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so since Researching.io's goal is to help people do informational interviews more easily, I was wondering if you had any tips for people on how to run such interviews.
So how to run the interviews, you mean by interacting on Researching?
Yeah. And doing informational interviews, connecting with people, and focusing on the transition outside of academia.
Yeah, the one thing that I've kind of seen from interacting with people on the site and from speaking to lots of people is actually the number one piece of advice I would have for any platform is actually just to reach out to someone. Don't be afraid that they're not going to get back to you. I mean, it applies to LinkedIn or any kind of platform like that. The best thing you can do to start is actually just to make that connection and to be brave and just to write out what you're actually trying to get out of the experience, and to just to initiate yourself, have the kind of initiative to do it yourself. And what we see on Researching.io is that once people actually make that first move, if they are connecting in a kind of reasonable way, rather than just like demanding, can you tell me this? If they're actually interacting with them as another human being, the response rate is very, very high, and it's very, very positive. We get lots of people who report very, very kind of positive interactions from the site. So I would say, first of all, just don't be afraid. Reach out to someone if they look like they could be a good connection for you to have on the site, and try and just be kind of specific about what you're actually trying to get out of that interaction. And what we see then is that once the mentor that you're connecting with, so the mentor being the person that's left academia, if they can see a bit of themselves in you and understand the relevance of the connection, then it really helps them, and they can really very easily just tell you what they did, and maybe they can give you some advice about what not to do, how to present yourself in interviews. And then, of course, the next step is that if you're actually preparing for an interview or something like that, you can then, ask people for advice on how to, prepare your CV or your resume, or even interview techniques and stuff like that. What we find is that actually the people who sign up to Researching as mentors, there's a huge amount of kind of goodwill in that community. I mean, they sign up because they actually do genuinely want to help people who are in the same position that they were in themselves. So that would be my advice, is just, don't be afraid, reach out, and trust the network.
It's a powerful way to make connections, and it's in the end it's beneficial both for mentees and mentors. So yeah, I think we covered most of the questions I had. I encourage all of you to go and take a look at his platform and sign in and try and connect with mentors. And so, yeah, that's the end of today's interview. We'll put it on our YouTube platform, and then you'll be able to access it. We'll talk about it as well in the third unit of the MOOC about networking. Thank you so much, Nick. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Nice to speak to you too.
And I wish you all the best. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.